And for this, I'd like to invite on stage the coordinator of the Ward Infrastructure Service Assessment, Mr. Gautham Ravichander, who works with Janaagraha. Mr. Gautham.
Today I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about urban governance in India. We are 63 years and 5 months into our independence. 63 years, 5 months, and as a country we've come a very long way. What does that mean for us? Let's take a look at it. We have set up some of the most reputed companies in the world. We have Nobel laureates who have defined how economic development will happen over the rest of the century. We have fired a satellite that will actually take satellites and put it into, we have fired rockets that will that'll put satellites in space. We've done a lot. All of these are achievements of Indians who are respected, who have pulled off a lot, and they're all just like us, average, ordinary Indians who've demonstrated that we are capable of delivering a lot. There's a lot of hope for India, but there's also a lot of problems that we do face. In our cities today, there are a lot of shortcomings that we do see. We see incessant traffic jams. We see lines for people to collect water. We see a lot of garbage that really reduces the quality of the environment that we live in. Now the question is this: how is it that the same country, the same people who are able to set up the best companies in the world, who are able to send a rocket into space, are not able to get a city right? The reasons for these are quite a few. First of all, in urban India today, we really do not have a good system of urban governance. India has historically been a city of the villages. Gandhi's envisioned a federation of 600,000 villages. What has happened as a result of that is, for the first 40 years of our independence, we focused on developing a country that was all about villages, 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 and cities didn't get enough focus on them. As a result, everybody allowed things to just develop on the way, however they wanted, and we had a lot of chock-a-block development of urban resources. This has created a lot of problems for us today. If you take a look at the city of Bangalore, this is how the city of Bangalore looks. What you see over there, the red lines are the boundaries of the police department. The green lines are the boundaries of the BBMP. The blue lines are the boundaries of water. You could be living in one area and not know which particular agency to go to, which particular office to go to, because of the legacy that we have. I'm going to go a little bit into why that legacy came about. Right, the biggest challenge that we had was creating a third tier of governance. Till the 1990s, you had cities being administered by the state government. So you were not just electing a chief minister of Karnataka, you were also electing a chief minister of Bangalore. And this created a lot of problems for us. For about 40 years in the parliament, they did debate creating a third tier of government. The 73rd and the 74th constitutional amendments created that third tier of government. We had Panchayati Raj, which was set up to create rural local government, where each village would be able to determine how it would be governed. And we also had Nagar Raj, which set up urban local government. This was the 74th constitutional amendment in 1993. The challenge that we faced was, despite these amendments being passed, they've still not been implemented in full form. As a result of this, we've got a lot of ad hoc management structures. Today you have the BWSSB, which is a state agency dealing with issues of water. The BWSSB reports to a minister of the state who's been elected by the state of Karnataka. So he has to answer not just to the people of Bangalore, but to the people of Karnataka. Now, this is a very critical distinction to keep in mind. If I need something fixed on my street, the best way for me to get it fixed today is to pick up the phone and call up the chief minister of Karnataka and say, hey, I got a problem, can you fix this for me? Now think about it, how ridiculous would it be if every time you had a problem in your department, you picked up the phone and called up the head of your company saying, you know what, my computer is not working. Can somebody please come out here and fix it for me? That's a very inefficient system of governance, and that's a very inefficient structure. So these systems of government have actually built up and built up and built up and created a lot of problems for us. We all look at it today and we say, okay, we have hundreds of thousands of problems in India today. This is wrong. We don't have hundreds of thousands of problems in India. We have hundreds of problems repeated 1,000 times because we don't know how to fix it the first time. Systems of governance will improve the manner in which we will be able to deal with our urban local governance. So let me talk to you a little bit about how Janaagraha proposes to go about doing this. At Janaagraha, we have a systematic approach to fixing local government. We say that we need to take a regional perspective. Now, what is taking a regional perspective? It means that I live in the city of Bangalore. Now, because I live in the city of Bangalore, I also need to be aware of all the regions are in and around Bangalore that affect the city of Bangalore. This includes Devanahalli, because the Bangalore International Airport is located in Devanahalli, which is a village that falls outside the boundaries of Bangalore. If I am the mayor of Bangalore, if I am the chief traffic planner for Bangalore, I cannot ignore the impact that that particular location outside the city of Bangalore has on us. So what we do is we say everybody should be sensitized, okay, governments and citizens, to the fact that it's not just our roads, it's not just our particular neighborhoods, it's a complete region that we need to be aware of. We need to know that what we do here today affects people elsewhere too. Take a regional perspective, and then once you've done that, you will be able to come up with a solution that works not just for yourself, but for everybody. Now, the second thing that we plan to do is to empower citizens and to empower governments. We all have a lot of ideas, a lot of solutions, but the fact of the matter is we as citizens aren't empowered to undertake these solutions. Local governments in India today, even if they have the best of the politicians, if they have the best administrators, if they do not have the legal rights and responsibilities to address your problems, their hands are tied. One of the biggest reforms we work to do is to say that let us devolve all powers, functions, and actions that are responsible, that are the responsibilities of local government to local governments themselves. So that is how we empower ULBs and city governments. Apart from that, we also say we should empower citizens. You and I cannot sit back and say, well, I have elected a government and that's the end of it. We also have to take part in it. But to take part in citizen government, we need to have a law that says citizens have the right to give feedback to the government, and government has the obligation to take that feedback into consideration. Now, the power of a democracy is obviously that we can elect them out the next time. But think about it this way. You could actually elect a government and the government wouldn't have to listen to you for the next 4 years, and then they would come back around in the 5th year saying, can you please vote for me again? With this kind of a law, you will be empowered to actually cast your votes, to say that, look, something's happening in my road, I don't like it, and have it fixed that year. Not the next year, not 5 years down the line, not 10 years down the line, that year. It's not just enough to be empowered by law, you should also have knowledge. Janaagraha works to impart knowledge and to impart the understanding of governance structures to citizens so that you know where you need to go and get your problems fixed. So that when you go to get a water problem fixed, you don't end up planning up at the police station, rather you will end up at the BWSSB, which will actually fix that for you. Same way, we also believe in enabling citizens and governments. It's not just enough to have powers and rights, you need tools, you need information, you need finances, and by ensuring that citizens in India as well as government agencies have the right set of tools, GIS systems, computer systems that aren't ancient, having software that works, ensuring that they know how to use Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, and actually are able to put these skills to use to perform their tasks, as well as having the specialized skill sets such as traffic planning, spatial planning, budgeting, accounting, simple things that we all take for granted, but skill sets that unfortunately in a lot of cases are missing in government. We work with citizens and governments to empower them with this kind of skill sets. We conduct training workshops, things like that, and what ends up happening is they are enabled to do their jobs more effectively. We also provide platforms, information to citizens so that citizens will be able to engage directly with government and provide their inputs there. Now, let's just stop here for a minute. Now, if I just did this first thing, right, taking a regional perspective, I empowered my local government, I enabled my local government. The biggest problem in India today would be that we would not be fixing our problems, we would just be decentralizing the problem. We would be decentralizing corruption. What is a government without accountability? Dr. Paul spoke about it earlier. We believe that in order for this entire system to work, the fourth pillar of a framework needs to be direct accountability of of governments directly to us as citizens. This is a very critical reform. If the government doesn't believe that it reports to you, rather it believes it reports to whoever paid it the most money, then it is not going to do the work that you require it to do. So all our reforms, all our activism, all our engagement with citizens, with government is along the lines of this framework. What I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through a little bit more about that framework. We believe that what is missing in urban India today are platforms for citizens to directly engage. So what happens is we create RWAs, we create welfare associations, we create concerned citizen groups. What ends up happening as a result of that is you have all these concerned people who are not able to get a proper systematic approach to government. You have a good mayor in power, you have a good corporator, maybe you have a good understanding with him, and then something happens. Otherwise, if you don't have a system of government where I, as a citizen, have the right to go to a particular gathering, voice my concerns there, and have the government take that up, nothing is going to change in India. So we've come up with a concept called the Area Sabha. In India today, everything happens around a polling booth. If you look at the political parties, they are organized around polling booths. If you look at how governance is also carried out, it's organized around wards, which are composed of polling booths. If you look at how services are provided, they are also provided on the basis of other agglomerations of polling booths. What we say is, a polling booth consists of 1,500 people. Now, it's not too hard to get 1,500 people into one room together to voice their opinions, to get their inputs on what needs to happen. So what we came up with is the concept of the Area Sabha. This is a collective of all the registered people in that particular polling booth. If you want to know what a polling booth is, it's the 5 streets around you that basically make up your local neighborhood. Everybody there gets together and says, look, we have these problems. We've got problems with our the 5th main. We've got a pothole. We don't get water on time. There's a lot of garbage collection problems. We provide that kind of information, and that flows up a chain of command through decision-making processes. So every polling booth will elect an Area Sabha representative who's not somebody who comes once in 15 days. He's the guy who lives next door. He can't afford to ignore you. This guy then goes ahead and gives inputs into the ward committee, which basically decides, okay, we have a 8,000 crore budget for Bangalore. How do we decide how to allocate that budget? How do we decide where to invest that money? Those people will be giving inputs to what is required for their wards. And all this goes up right all the way up to the municipality level. So the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter whether you are an RWA or not. It doesn't matter whether you come from a Poor People's Association or anything like that. If you're an average citizen of India, you're registered to vote, you will be able to participate without any other qualification required apart from the fact that you care and you picked up your boots and you walked to this Area Sabha and you said, I have an opinion, I have a problem, can we have this address please? That's the Area Sabha structure. And if you look at it, every single method of participation that exists today, informal structures, can actually be folded into this. So we are not saying that solid waste management is not critical. We are not saying that community policing isn't critical. We are not saying water associations aren't critical. All of these are issues, but the issues of governance. If we can provide a way that we as citizens can directly link into governance, then we will be able to create a system by which we will be able to take charge of our own cities. This is the Area Sabha concept of Janaagraha, which we believe is critical for reforms in India and in urban governance. Every single campaign that we run, every single reform that we push for derives fundamentally from this. Electoral issues. If you look at it today, in urban India, polling booths are only around 40% accurate, and that is if you're really lucky. On a polling booth roll that is 40% accurate, you have a 40% turnout. So you actually have 16% of that entire region coming out to decide who is going to be the elected representative. And then you have, out of that, probably 30% of that group. So you have probably 5% of the people of a region electing a representative to govern that entire region. Now this is basically a problem that needs to be fixed through electoral reforms. The Jagte Raho campaign, which builds off of the Jagore campaign that we did in partnership with Tata Tea, takes the same polling booth model. It says in every single polling booth in Bangalore, we will find one volunteer who will go door to door within his polling booth. This is fundamentally speaking about 300 households, getting forms distributed and having people collect them and submitting these to the Election Commission of India. The Election Commission of India liked this idea so much they partnered with us to do this in Shantinagar. It's an official Election Commission of India project in the Shantinagar Assembly constituency where 2.5 lakh people, of which more than, I would say, around 1 lakh people are not registered to vote. They will be registered for the first time in their lives to vote and to actually have access to the electoral systems that we have been promised as a democracy. We also believe in working online. We believe in working with citizens. We started the iPayABribe.com initiative. The idea is this: we all know corruption exists. It's out there. Why don't we all acknowledge it? So, how much should you pay for your driving license in Koramangala? $500? Seriously? I got it for 300 in Indiranagar, dude. Why can't we all go to Indiranagar? The idea is, why not say, okay, we all know that corruption exists. What's the price? Can we get competitive bidding to happen in various departments based on the kind of corruption metrics that we derive? So we actually set up a website where you can report how much you paid for every single service. We also said, if you don't want to pay a bribe, we will tell you how to do it. And as a result of that, we came up with the 10 commandments of not paying a bribe. If you go to the website, iPayABribe.com, if you've ever paid a bribe, please go there, register those bribes. If you don't want to pay a bribe, go there, find out what your rights are, what your obligations are, and you will be able to navigate the system of urban governance without having to pay bribes. Okay. This is something, it's a poster that you can actually download. If any of you want it, go online, you'll be able to download it, put it up, distribute it. A third thing that we work on is infrastructure and services. Now, Dr. Paul talked about citizen report cards and how they improve urban accountability. We decided to put forth a concept called the Ward Infrastructure and Services Assessment. The idea is, if we have actual data on where the problems in our city are, then we can maybe focus on delivering the services that those areas don't have first. So if I have an 8,000 crore budget and I have varying levels of service across the city, maybe I'll know that, okay, the guys who don't have water at all need water before the guys who get water maybe once a day for 8 hours a day. And if you take a look at that, that was the basis on which we came up with the entire infrastructure and services assessment concept. This is the city of Bangalore. If you look at it, there is a very small percentage of Bangalore which actually has a good level of service. Those are the areas that are green. The bulk of Bangalore has a median to middling level of service. And on the outskirts over there, you've got lots of areas which have been added in recently that are still villages. These guys don't get water. They don't have roads. They still leave sewage on the road. So if you had an 8,000 crore budget, where would you invest? Finally, it all ties down to we need the laws, we need the principles that will make these things happen. So a lot of what Janaagraha does is take our grassroots activists and take our knowledge, do research on them, and use that to come up with reforms that will then get implemented in policies. The Area Sabha, the concept that I spoke to all of you about 5 slides back, is a reform that is a mandatory reform under the JNNURM. The JNNURM is a 50,000 crore budget, which is allocated to cities for development pending the implementation of these reforms. Every single reform that we have works to improve accountability, works to improve the systems of governance, works to empower you as citizens to hold that government accountable. We believe that if we all work together, we will be able to work with the tree of democracy. If you look at that, that's a tree where the trunk of the tree is the systems approach. The root of the tree is democracy, and the fruits that we all get is fundamentally the quality of life that we as Indians are capable of achieving and that we deserve. Active citizen participation, you and me working together, will be able to make this happen. If we all get together and participate in our democracy daily, apart from going to work, we will be able to transform India. I'm done with my talk, but before I close, there's a very powerful idea here. India is not a country that is not capable of being reformed. We have set up Tata, we have set up Infosys. India is the country that we want it to be. If we want to transform India, it is not enough for us to say, well, I elected a representative. We as citizens have to get out there and engage. We can't leave it to civil society organizations. You can't leave it just to Janaagraha, because Janaagraha works only when everybody in India works together with us. That's why we called ourselves Janaagraha. It's the people working together, power of the people. And that's the thought I would leave you with today. Thank you very much.